So we have the electrical all buttoned up. The motor's installed. We installed a new ground wire. Stroboscope works. We're getting good, consistent voltage out of there. I do need to replace the idler wheel, or at least see if I can refurbish it first. But first, before we go down that road, we have an issue with the side selector. And it's pretty common for when I work on these, like something is not in the correct spot. So the new issue is on the 12-inch size selector, this little tab, that little brass piece that I'm moving back and forth right there, has these little notches. Let's see if I can zoom it or move this. There we go. All right, so that notch right there that's moving back and forth, that very end tab is for the 7-inch, and then the next notch is for the 10-inch, and then there's another one behind this brass arm right here is for the 12. Well, this right here has a little thumb on it or a tab on it underneath this as well, and that's what catches the size selector, and that's what limits the motion of the tone arm going towards the post, so that way it lands down on around the same spot. All right, so I didn't really see any like major configuration errors. However, there was a lot of resistance on that piece moving back and forth. Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and do this. We're just hand turning it. Let's see if we can't. So I've got it on 12-inch. It should set down like somewhere around the lip of this platter. Cool. All right, we're gonna set this on the tone arm rest again. I can see it. There we go. Get this spinning. Okay. Well, there's 2. Let's go for number 3. There we go. All right, cool. So no configuration error, but let me pause and show you what. Oh, let's lock this. All right, cool. Let me flip this over and we'll talk about what I saw. Okay, so as this cam gear rotates when the auto feature is engaged, moves all this jazz right here, and ultimately it pushes this arm right here, pushes this arm forward, and this little lever is what catches this tab on that size selector, right? And so what was happening was there was more drag on this size selector than what needed to be. And so that was stretching out and not really moving it close enough to where the notch on this piece right here could make contact at that 12. So we took that off. We hit it with some rubbing alcohol and some more, cleaned it out, cleaned the post with some rubbing alcohol, get any kind of remaining old lubricant out there. There's probably just like a bit or two left on either in, let's see, in that part right there, or maybe on that supporting post. Just a little bit of extra friction on these old turntables will throw a lot of these features off. So 90% rubbing alcohol, some silicone grease on there, and then we just ran through the test, and we're going to call that good for right now mechanically. And so we're going to take the platter out to the garage, hit it with some rubber renew, and then let that air out overnight. Okay, so we've got the Garrard, this International Garrard button up. Yeah, my hair's not as crazy. I'm wearing a tank top. It's hot. It's summer. With every one of these turntables I work on, I get a brand new set of issues. Mechanically, we're good to go. We've got the new idler wheel installed. We came across 2 things. One, so this is the original. This is the little stroboscope for the little measurements for the 45 and 33. However, it's for 50 hertz. I do have a donor 0100, and we've got a 60 hertz. However, I think I'm just going to take a heat gun, because this is just a piece of paper under here and just glued here. So I want to take a heat gun, take this off, take it to the library, and make some copies of it, and then put one of the copies over here, and then I'll pull this off, make a PDF, put it online, put them both online. But these are off, and the motor's here, but yet there's a motor right there because something's amiss on this damn thing, and it is guaranteed electrical. So this is the international model. You know, we've got this stupid, we've got this stupid little doobly-doo that lets you switch between 220 and 110. However, but when I crank that thing up, and for 45 and 33, the 33 was running at 54, and the 45 was running at 78. So something's wrong. We're going to run some tests. First, we're going to take the new safety capacitors off of those switches, turn it on, and see if that's causing some sort of interference, because quite literally that's the only thing I can think of. The likelihood of both of these motors, this one from the deck here, and then this one is from a donor one out in the garage, being both broken, and both of them having the 50 hertz pulley, when this one is clearly from the 110, United States, and so is, matter of fact, so is that one. The one for 50 hertz has an additional, like a little thinner ring around the base here, so that way you can tell the difference between the 60 and the 50 on the 0100 series. All right, the capacitors are all out, so it's just power in, switch, straight to the motor. And since I normally use a speed checker on my phone, so this may be, now we may have to go in and adjust the motor pulley, but what was happening was it'd start off, we got on 33 right now, so we're definitely, we may have to go through, but like what would happen is it'd start off at 33 and then just rock it up to 55. So regardless of, so I'm gonna have to stop recording and like use the app on my phone to see if this problem is solved. My hair's crazy. So taking the capacitors out didn't change anything. Changing out the extension cord and the outlet didn't change anything. I'm having a hard time figuring it. Maybe the power cord on that record player or power cord is busted, but the fact that it happens on two motors is suspect as all hell. I think my next step is to go onto that donor 0100 and just pull the electrical wiring off of that and put it on this 0100 SC and see if we still have the same problems. Because I'm wondering, so it's the international model, and it has those 4 posts, those 2 copper jumpers, and you have to configure those copper jumpers. I'm wondering if those wires, while enough to get power to the motor and make things run, I still wonder if those are configured in a wrong way somehow. The diagram of the wiring on the back end, the schematic for the 0100 doesn't really show how the wiring goes, like on the back end, like how the wires are soldered into the bottom of those 4 or into the back of those four posts. So there's a distinct possibility that those wires may not be soldered correctly, and maybe the configuration is such a way to where we can get power to the motor, but it doesn't work right. But that doesn't make any sense. And right now I'm just kind of thinking out loud because I am out of ideas as to why we're having this runaway speed issue on this turntable. But we will figure it out, and that's a future mic problem.